and welcome to the Fiber Tales podcast. My name is Lærke and this is a podcast about knitting, about knitwear design, my work as a knitwear designer, and about anything else I feel like sharing from my life. It's been a little while since I podcasted last time. I was sick last week, just a cold, but it kind of took me out for a week. So but I have a fun episode planned. I have some big news to share with you guys. I have an almost finished object that's behind me. It's pretty much just missing the buttons, but I will talk more about that later. And I have a finished new sweater that I'm wearing, so I will get into all of that. Today it's actually snowing outside and really beautiful. I feel so cozy and I'm still not over the wintry feel, so I'm happy every time the snow decides to return. We have had a period of a little bit warmer weather and very wet weather, but on those days where it's been really nice and warm, I've been slowly beginning gardening. I've been cleaning out some parts of the garden. If you follow me on Instagram, then you will know and I've seen the little videos. It's not very beautiful to look at yet, but I think it will be very nice once it's all done. And yeah, the weather was just a little bit nicer all over, so there were some days with some sunshine, and one of the days we went walking in the hills not very far from where we live. We have some very beautiful areas, my partner and I, and he decided to propose to me on a bench in the hills, and it was very nice and the sun was shining. And it was just the two of us, and yeah, he gave me a ring, so I can show you the ring. See, I'm not used to showing my hand, but here it is. And it's a very nice little ring, very nature inspired, just the way I like it. So I was very happy about that. And yeah, we've been together for almost 15 years. So I have been waiting for this moment for a very long time. I've been kind of asking him for many years if he wasn't going to propose at some point. I just thought it would be nice, but I wanted it to happen in the, I was going to say right way. There's no right way. I'm not very, as you know, we've been together for 15 years. We have kids and a house and everything. So I don't mind doing it in any specific order or anything. I'm not very traditional in that way, but I just really wanted him to ask me. I guess in that way I am a little bit romantic at heart, and he's not the most romantic of guys, so I didn't want to push him too much. I was just saying just something very simple, and he did exactly that, and I'm very happy. I don't know when we're gonna get married. Maybe it will be another 15 years. I hope not. But it was just very nice to finally be able to say that we're engaged, and at some point I can call him my husband and not just my boyfriend forever. So that has been some big news in my life, but it hasn't really changed anything in some ways because we're still just living the same way as we have always been. But yeah, and I think that's it for the little chatty part. No, I wanted to say that today is actually a special day in Denmark. It's not today, it's on Sunday, but today they celebrate it at school. So we celebrate the carnival. I know a lot of places around the world does that too, but here it's a very old tradition of celebrating carnival, and the kids dress up. And today I sent out a little bunny and a little Darth Vader. It was a lot of fun sending them out, and they will go to both the kindergarten and school has little parties where what we do in Denmark is we hang up a barrel, yeah, I think it's called, like a piñata style, but just looks like a barrel, and the kids have to beat it with sticks until it falls down, and there's candy and mandarins and stuff like that inside. So they will be doing that at the moment, and then on Sunday, which is actually the real day of carnival, I know they will make a small they will make the same down in the village. I don't know if it will be small or a lot of kids will come, but I think generally in the village where I live, it's very active. So I think there will be a lot of kids, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So yeah, and now onto the knitting. I think I will start out with a finished object that I'm wearing, and that is my I will just stand up so you can see. I showed it in the last episode. And that is my Perikon sweater. It's all finished. I finished the sleeves. I just made a really simple, easy to wear, not too bulky because if not I cannot wear it under jackets. It has a little bit of a crease because it had been folded. It has a big piece of ribbing, and also the ribbing on the sleeves is quite wide, but I really like that. At the moment it's knit in Manchelopis and knitting for olive silk mohair, and I will put the info down below. I think the colorway for the silk mohair is Hawa, which is oat, and the other one is it's called Gris, which is gray, but I think it's more like a warm beige color, the Manchelopis. So I don't know. Yeah, I will put the name down below just so I don't say anything wrong. But yeah, and I held those one strand of each together. I talked a lot about this one in the last episode, but I'm just so pleased with how it turned out. It's really lightweight. It's like not wearing anything, and it's very, very soft. So I think even if you're a little sensitive, you would be able to wear it. Today I'm wearing it with a dress that is a shirt dress, so I guess it's not really bothering me in the neck. But still, I think I could wear it without anything. And yeah, I made a call for testers yesterday. It's always a little bit, how do I say, it's just a lot of administration when I do a call for testers. So I kind of have to pull myself together because I get a lot of, I do my call for testers on Instagram. If you don't follow me there, I'm Fibertails everywhere. So it should be easy to find me. But I did a call for testers in my stories, and then I get a lot of DMs and have to kind of juggle everything. And I have found testers for all sizes. So I have graded this one from an extra small to a 6 extra large. And the only sizes I'm missing testers for right now is the 3 and 4 extra large and the 6 extra large. So if anyone should be interested in those, it's still open for those sizes, and I think I really want to have it out before the spring comes, so I put a quite short deadline. But if you are knitting one of the larger sizes, I'm totally okay with someone needing a little more time, so then I could possibly add in those if anything has to be changed for those sizes later. I don't always manage to have all sizes tested. That's unfortunately how it is. It can be really hard to find testers, so I try to have as many sizes tested as I can, but then in case something comes up later on, I can always go in and correct it. It's not the way I would prefer doing it, but it is the way I think a lot of other designers do it as well. And I think I'm not so worried about the numbers. It's really important for me to have the pattern tested by a lot of people. So in some sense, you can test it you can have a lot of different people testing size small, for example, or size large, and it's just for me to have people to go through the pattern and make sure it makes sense and it's easy to follow. So yeah, I have just started the testing. Hopefully it will be done by end of February, mid-March, I think, and I should be able to have the pattern out by then. I have to take some pictures, but the weather has been really, really bad. Today it's nice, it's snowy, but it still would be hard to photograph in this kind of weather. So hopefully we get some spring at some point before, just a little bit of warmer weather before, before I have it ready to release and I can take some nice pictures. And I don't know if there's anything else I want to say about it. Let me just check. Check my notes. No, I think I said everything. And if you want to hear more about the story behind the design, my thoughts behind the design, then go check the last episode. I think that's the one where I talked a lot about it. And yeah, it's really warm actually. I might have to take it off, but I'll do that in a moment. Okay, so I decided to take off the sweater because I was actually overheating a little bit. I just wanted to show you the dress I'm wearing as well. It's a dress that I got in a secondhand shop recently, and I think it's just so nice. It's from a Danish brand called Skall Studio. It has some big pockets here on the front. It's has a lot of fabric and pockets. it's a size extra small, which is a little bit too small for me in this department, but it doesn't matter. I actually have I have two sizes between my top and my bottom, so I'm a very much pear shape and can be sometimes hard, but that's why I like wearing dresses, because they're very forgiving on then I only have to fit the size on the top part. But I'm just really happy I found this one at a really good deal in a thrift shop I went to recently, and it's just the most beautiful soft cotton. Normally these are really expensive, and I got it, the chair. I got it at a really good deal, and it just feels nice to give clothes a second chance. So anyways, I also took off the sweater because I wanted to show you the cardigan behind me, and that way I can try it on for you and you can see. So I have been working like crazy on this one, and I think before I talk about it, I want to show you a little clip I recorded of me when I unraveled it, because since the last time I recorded, now in my last episode, I wanted to say, I got so many comments about this one. It wasn't supposed to really be anything. I wasn't planning to have it released anytime soon because I was a little bit stuck on the design, but I got so many comments on the design, people saying they really wanted it released, so I decided to work on it. So I will just show you the clip where I unraveled a lot of it, and then I will talk a little bit more about what I did afterwards. Okay, so I thought to bring you along in my sweater cardigan surgery here. So I began last night and I forgot to film anything. It was dark anyway, but I ripped out the whole back panel, which is the same size as these two, and I have the yarn here and here, and it was a bit of a nightmare because first I had to undo the tubular bind off, and that is just terrible. And this kind of yarn acts a little bit like mohair in the sense that it kind of glues together some of the fibers. Then I had to rip back undo the mattress stitch, and I always do a brilliant job of attaching my ends, so it's really hard to find them. And yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare as well. I actually managed to ruin the corner because I snapped one of the strands I thought was the mattress stitch strand, but it was not. But the good thing is that I decided I will redo the ribbing, because you can see here, this is the button band, and it has this weird little kind of shape, and I don't like it. And I have tried different things, and then the shape just looked odd in a different way. So what I think I will do to avoid this weird shape is I will, now we're on the back of the garment, but I will unravel and redo the ribbing, but I will do the ribbing until here. I think that's gonna look nice. I think it's gonna be okay. On this side, I already removed the button band, not the ribbing, the button band. So I think I will just extend the ribbing once I do the button band again. I will do it only until here instead of doing it all the way down. I think this might solve this, because I don't think it's gonna go away with blocking. It's just a little bit, it's because of the ribbing pulling the fabric in, you can see, so it's gonna follow this curve, and I just think it's gonna look nicer if I undo it. Anyways, so I think I didn't ruin any other places. There under the armholes was a little bit difficult as well. So as you can see here, I have to rip back this part. I actually thought yesterday that maybe it wasn't really necessary, but I'm just gonna start fresh also because this is what it looks like now. It's not looking very nice. So I'm gonna redo the whole front and this whole section, and then figure out how to close it up in the back. What I think I will do is just kind of make a square neckline instead. Before I had a like it was wrapping over. And the problem was since I did this, I picked up the back pieces, and that's why I had to rip back everything to kind of get the neck looking okay. But I am trying to not let this stress me. It's been a while since I knitted, so at least I don't have it fresh in my memory. And of course, this is only because
I have to kind of sometimes assemble the pieces to see how the design looks, and this would never happen if you're following a pattern, because this is what designing looks like sometimes. A lot of mess and a lot of ripping back and trying things out, but I will rip back this part as well, and then I will see where I go from there with the neck, and then I will cast on for the back again and do the ribbing again and mattress seam everything back together. Oh, what a project.
So the main thing with this cardigan was actually the back. The back was where all the problems were. So the front is still the same pretty much. I only changed one thing, and a little disclaimer before we get too far into it. I work with the unraveled yarn, and that is, I don't know if it's gonna focus on my face actually, maybe I should just sit down. I worked with the unraveled yarn, and that is something I really dislike because it's so noodly and like going up and down a lot, especially since it's been quite a while since I knit this one for the first time, so the yarn really had the shape. I know people said you can steam it, you can also wash it, but since it was all attached to the garment and I was afraid it would be a big mess, I just wound up the ball and then I didn't steam it. So that's maybe something I can learn from for another time. I can be a bit impatient when it comes to designs and stuff, but honestly I hate working with unraveled yarns, so maybe it would be a good idea for another time. I just find it really annoying the way it looks and the way the stitches look. I feel like all the work I'm doing, it doesn't look nice. It will when I block it, so it will be okay. So that was the little disclaimer before I get into talking too much about it. Anyways, the front is still the same, but the only thing I changed, and this is one of the parts that's very uneven looking, is that I continue the bottom ribbing all the way under this part, and before it was going down, but I found that it made a little bit of an ugly shape, and now it looks a little, well, I think it looks a lot neater. So this design is a lot of fun to knit because it's worked in a lot of different directions, and one of the issues I had was the back where the two arm pieces meet. First I had made it so it was a bit of two flaps crossing over, but it just pulled out very much on the back. I found I didn't really like how it looked, and finally I was trying all kind of different things. I even tried to figure out how to do a kitchen stitch in brioche. That was it was no, thank you. I don't want to. If I cannot figure it out, I don't want other people to have to try to figure it out. So I didn't think it looked nice. It was still a bit wonky. And then I thought to myself, okay, so maybe what I should do is just make the joint visible, like celebrate this, make it a detail, make it something nice. So instead I decided to work a few rows of stockinette stitch. Again, it's not very neat because it needs to be blocked, but I think you will not be able to tell. And then I did a kitchen stitch grafting the stockinette pieces, and that way it has this little ridge in the back, and I think it looks very pretty, and it's no longer like something I'm trying to hide. I even seamed it up, and then I had a big fat seam in the back, and I like doing mattress stitch, like the sides are done with mattress stitch, but it didn't look pretty. So I have tried so many things with this design, and I'm really happy with how it ended up turning out. I did some short row shaping. That was also interesting doing in brioche. I haven't done that before, so there were a lot of firsts. And now I'm just gonna try it on. I think, well, I'm sure the pattern is where I want it to be. So the next bit is just to write it down in a way that makes sense. Also because some parts I knit long time ago, some parts I knit recently, and just trying to remember what I did, how I did it, and again, it needs some blocking, but I think it looks so nice. I'm really happy with all the work I put in. I put so much work into this one, and also, I don't know if you can tell, maybe you can tell, but I'm not sure if it's the same yarn I used on the back. These are all my parents' gotland yarn that I have spun up, but since I have it spun, I have different batches made every year. And I don't always put labels on the ones I keep for myself. I was not sure if it was the same yarn that I found a ball in my stash, and I think it's the same. I think what happens is this has been worn, so it fluffs up a lot more, and it makes it look more, just makes it look more white or more bright. And when it's all freshly spun, when it comes straight out of the skein, it looks a little more, it just looks a little more gray. But I think it's the same color. But we will time will tell if it starts to mix in. But the good thing is I only used the new skein on the back button band, and not button band, hem on the back. So it's not so bad. It's not like a big line running through in the middle. And yeah, I am really happy with all the details I put in. It will be one of those pieces. I think I wouldn't say it's for a beginner, but it's not impossible to do, not at all. The only thing is you have to be comfortable with picking up stitches so it looks nice. And I think that's really easy to do, depending on how used you are to it. I am in the pattern, I include how many stitches you should pick up, like the ratio. So again, it should be fairly easy. I also, another thing is that you have to do a bit of mattress stitching just on the sides, and for me it's not very annoying. I also just recorded a video trying to show what I do. It's a little bit hard to show in this yarn, so maybe I will have to record another one in a more easy to read yarn, because this is more fussy and rustic and so on. But those things, if you're not afraid to do a bit of mattress stitch, a bit of picking up stitches, and yeah, of course now it has some short rows, but they are really easy to do. I think it should be easy to make. I think I will make a video explaining how you work the design, so that way it's I can explain all these details together and put that together with the pattern. But so many of you ask for it, so I feel like I felt motivated to work on it, even if it's been a little bit of a pain, I must say. And then I had to remind myself also, because afterwards I was like, is this too hard for people? But then I remember it's not so hard, because for me it was hard. I re-knit it like 50 times and tried so many different techniques, but those, you don't have to go through all of that. I already did that. And that's sometimes when people look on designs and they're like, oh, I can make that myself. You can, but you will have to spend a lot more time on it instead of following a pattern where someone has already done all the different, have tried out all the different, had done all the trial and error. And yeah, I'm really happy with this one. I think it's so cozy. It has a bit of a bomber feel. I put in buttonholes. So it has one on the bottom, then it has, I think it has 5. I can see them better from the back. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're quite invisible, and I ordered some buttons, some horn buttons in a nice brown natural color. And yes, it's a little long sleeve on me. I think it grew a bit since I designed it, but I really like that. But you could always knit it a bit shorter if you wanted to sit a little more up on the arm. But for me it's super cozy, and also I have short arms, so I think this would work well for most sizes. And then of course if you have longer or shorter arms, you will have to adjust a little bit. But yeah, and the back detail on the back I think looks really nice. Of course it will probably look nicer once it's been blocked, but yeah. I think I will save talking a little bit more about the construction until I have the pattern ready. That way I'm not giving too much away. But this one I've shown you before, and it's been such a long time coming. But I think it has some really pretty details now. It sits so nicely on the shoulders now, since I dropped the whole idea of having a cross back. So it's no longer pulling out. It's staying up nicer. Also, that's one of the things I talked about in my podcast episode last time, and I think about cardigan design, and I think that is really important. If you're gonna, this is for the future, of course, once the pattern comes out, or if you want to test it, I will open a call for testers. I know people have been writing me, but I cannot keep track of all the comments. I get so many comments on Instagram. or messages. So I cannot keep track of those. I will just do a call for testers when I'm ready to sit down with at the computer and put everyone's name in a spreadsheet and all that stuff. But what I was gonna say is I used DK weight Gotland yarn that has this very fluffy effect, but you could achieve, I think, the same effect using one strand of fingering weight and a strand of silk mohair, perhaps, with the different yarn. So just using a wool yarn that doesn't have the same properties, or you could use this the same kind of yarn, so a Gotland yarn that has a lot of fluff, or maybe an unspun. The only thing is for this one, since I did the whole neckline around is done with the tubular bind off to give a really nice detail. And I think I wouldn't recommend doing that with an unspun yarn. I actually find tubular bind off to be pretty much close to impossible for me. I heard some people say they twist the yarn a bit so it's a little stronger, but even when I hold it together with silk mohair, I find tubular bind off to be a no-go. I didn't use it on my Perikon sweater. It's over there. I was looking for it. I used just a normal, like a traditional cast bind off. But a sewn tubular bind off just pulls too much in the yarn for me, and so it keeps breaking. And once it breaks really close to the edge, it's impossible to fix, or you have to, yeah. I think it's a mess, but a really kind viewer, follower on Instagram, sent me a link to a technique I never heard about before. I haven't tried it out, but it's a technique where you can make something that looks like a tubular bind off but knitted. And I really have to give it a go, because if that's an option, then you would be able to use unspun yarn on this one. So yeah. Let me see if I talked about everything I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I think that's it. And that also means I have finished all my works in progress pretty much. I mean, this one still needs buttons. I have a few ends on the inside I need to weave in, and it needs blocking, but I have nothing on my needles, like nothing I'm working on right now. I have some old whips I could pick up again, but I think I am instead going to cast on a cardigan. I think I looked a lot on different cardigan design, constructions, and I have really fallen in love with, I think it's called the English tailored shoulder. It's the one I talked about last time, but someone really kind told me that it has a name, so that's really nice. And I made a little swatch that is still wet and is still on the blocking mat that I wanted to show you. And I think I'm gonna start on this one. The only thing is I have to order more yarn, and I ordered a skein of this yarn. It's the no, it's not the Manchelopis. It's the Wool Dreamers. The Manchelopis is also from Wool Dreamers. That is a Spanish yarn brand, but it's from Wool Dreamers. It's the Rinconada. Okay, so the camera just stopped recording, and it happens sometimes. That's why it cuts in the middle. It happens after, I think, 20 minutes or something. It has a limit. I used it for my Gros hat, so you might know it from there. And when I bought yarn for the Gros hat, I also bought a few skeins in different colors. And one of the colors I'm really in love with. It's a very beautiful color, and my only worry is if I start working from this skein and I have to order new skeins, it might not be the same dye lot. So, and I don't know if I have the label. I'll have to try to figure that out and order some more skeins so I can get started. But I made a little swatch, and let me just show you. This swatch is sitting on my cork blocking mats. I recommended those in my gift ideas for knitters, but these are just baby cork mats, baby mats, but made with a cork top. And this is the little swatch. I decided to make a swatch that can later be used as a pocket. So it's not a swatch as in I tried out different things. I already did that on a different swatch. This is a swatch that is going to become a pocket later on, so I put in a little more effort. I'm really lazy when it comes to my swatches sometimes. Yeah, so it's wet right now, so it looks a bit darker, but it's a really funny yarn because to me it has a green hue, But when Helle was here, I showed her the yarn and she was like, it looks brown to me. It is very dark inside these days, so maybe it just looks brown in this light, but I think it has a green undertone. I don't know if you can see it today. It's pretty dark in this. I'm sitting a little far away from the window because that's where my little corner is. Yeah, so I have a little design idea in mind. I already made the pocket, and now I have to think if I can keep working with the yarn I have. That's my only issue, and that's one thing that happens sometimes when you buy single skeins of things and then later on you decide to use it for design. And I do that sometimes just to have some designs on some skeins on hand I can swatch with. I also thought to make two versions of this design if it turns out nice. And the other version I want to make it in the white colorway, the same as I use for the hat. I don't know if it's white, but it's like a creamy with a little bit of specks of, doesn't have specks, but it has just the natural little bits in the yarn that has a darker color, and I just think it could be really nice as a cardigan. This yarn is very rustic, but like soft rustic, more in the dry way, and it is I think it's all merino, Spanish merino, if I'm not mistaken. And it's funny because sometimes I talk about dry and wet yarns, and I don't know if you can tell, there's nothing, no fluff really sticking out. It's just this really rustic but dry. It doesn't have shine to it. Whereas the gotland, when you work with the gotland, it has a lot more luster and sheen, and well, it's not shiny, but it has a little bit more of this with the long staples that's sticking out. Sorry, I'm all the time trying not to fall over my chair. Now this gotland yarn is actually a 50-50 mix, so it's only 50% gotland. So if you have a more close to 100%, it's even more, has more of this sheen, but I like it mixed up with the local wool that I have it mixed up with. So yeah, I think I talked a lot. Maybe it wasn't that long, I don't know. But it's just been, apart from the sickness that happened recently, it's just been really nice to, it's been a really good month. I think January can be really tough, and I managed to get through it in somewhat with a positive spirit, and you know, it helped with the with the engagement and everything, but also it just been feeling nice. And yesterday we went swimming again. I did the I think someone told me in the US they call it a polar bear swim, polar bear dip, something like that. I did that yesterday and it was freezing and it was wonderful. I really liked doing it, but I haven't been doing it for a couple of weeks. Before that I hadn't been doing it because I was sick, and I know it's good for the health, but you don't go and do a swim when you have a runny nose and so on. So I only do it when I'm feeling good, and it's once a week that I try to make it happen. I think I talked about everything. It was really nice to sit down and see all of you guys. I don't see you, but I will see all the comments afterwards, and it's a lot of fun. And I hope you will have a nice time until we talk next time. Bye!